Hello friends and everyone, you're welcome back to Netcode-Hub channel. I am Frederick and I'm happy to have you here today. In this video, we are going to talk about how to perform lazy loading and CSS isolation on static files in .NET 8 Razor class library. Maybe if today is the first time of you hearing lazy loading, CSS isolation, static files, Razor class library, you'll be confused, isn't it? Yeah, those who know it, okay? But of those who do not know, let me take some few minutes or seconds to get these guys explained. So first of all, let's talk about lazy loading. When we talk about lazy loading, what actually is it? Lazy loading in Blazor refers to the capability of loading components or resources only when they are actually needed, rather than loading everything up front when the application starts. This can improve the initial loading time and also reduce the amount of data transferred over the network. I believe this is clear. Yeah, so instead of reloading all the files initially when the application starts, you want to relax and now load the file when it's actually needed. Talking about this, we are pinpointing to JavaScript file. Now let's go to CSS isolation. Actually, you know what CSS style is, right? CSS style. You know what CSS is. So CSS isolation, also known as a scoped CSS or component-based styling, is a technique used in web development to encapsulate style within a specific component. This prevents them from affecting other parts of the application. This is particularly relevant or very important in the context of modern front-end frameworks and libraries where components are fundamental building blocks of user interface. So let's say you have a simple or a limit class or style that you want to apply to a specific component, then you have to go in for a CSS or scoped or CSS isolation, because this is limited to that component and the code or the CSS code that you've written is going to affect only that component you've written for. So we're going to have a look on how to implement these two in Razor library. Then maybe the next question here is, what is Razor class library? So Razor class library, popularly called or known as RCL, is a special type of library in the context of ASP.NET Core and Blazor applications. This allows you to create and package reusable UI components, pages, views, and now static assets such as the CSS and also JavaScript file using the Razor syntax. So Razor class library makes it convenient to share and now distribute user interface components and related resources across different projects. So let's say you are creating an application both on web app and also on mobile app. Definitely you go in for Blazor and also Blazor hybrid, isn't it? Now you want to have a login system or registration system. You don't want to create a registration system for the web and also do the same for the mobile app. You want to create one login, then you can implement it here and down there. In such case, Razor class library, it is there. It is there to hold these components for you so that you can share them both the web front and also the mobile front. I believe this is clear. Now the Razor is also a markup syntax used in ASP.NET Core for embedding code such as the C# into an HTML pages. So Razor syntax also allow you to create dynamic content and a logic within your view or the component. Okay, so let's see how to render this JavaScript as a lazy loading and also CSS as isolation and this Razor class library in .NET 8. So we're going to create a .NET 8 Blazor app. Then we're going to create our class library. Then we're going to put all our codes inside the library and try to share or use it into the Blazor application. So next time, in case you want to use the same thing in mobile app, then it becomes very simple and easy for you to implement. Let's jump right into Visual Studio and now let's see how to go about this. As usual, if you haven't subscribed, do so because this channel is about Blazor, it's about .NET, it's about everything that you want to know about .NET ecosystem. So it's about that, all right? So don't waste time at all. Let's jump into it. So I'm going to create a new project here, and here I'm going to create just a solution. We're going to add 2 projects for this. So first of all, I'm going to create this blank solution, and now with this, I'm going to name it which one? Lazy loading. And all right, so I'm going to say Razor. So Razor class library with lazy, long name, don't mind, lazy loading, okay, and CSS isolation. Now when I'm done with this, I'm going to leave this project, the source code over there, so you can just, if you want to grab this, I'm going to make this available, okay, and CSS isolation. All right, so let me have this solution created. Let's right click on this solution. We're going to add new project. Let's add the Razor library. So let's go to this and then click on library, and now you can see we're going to have this Razor. Have you found yours? Okay, I'm still searching mine. I don't want to use all language. Be specific, C#. So Razor, and that is this one. You see? So choose this one, and now there's a library. So I'm going to create this as shared. So this is shared, right? And I'm going to click on next, and .NET 8, you choose that, click on create. Now defaultly, when you create this Razor class library, you're going to have it in a hierarchy form. You're going to have where you can put all your static files, such as your CSS, such as your images, such as your JavaScript, okay? So in this, if I talk about static files, I'm talking about these guys. We're going to add CSS. We're going to also add JavaScript, okay? Now, first of all, let's see. We have this, just a component that we have as a default component, and maybe we can remove this because I'm not going to use this. But for now, let's maintain what we have in here. Now, the very first thing that you're going to do here is, have you seen this www root folder? Yes, we are going to create another folder here. Then let's say this is going to be components, because you want to create components here. So component. Then this component, you're going to right click on this. Let's add a Razor component. Maybe here I'm going to create an alert or alert or confirmation component. So let's say this confirmation component. So this component is going to be used to confirm, are you trying to do this? Yes. Okay, that's what I actually want to do. But we want to load these JavaScript as a lazy loading, and also the CSS as a isolation. Okay, so first of all, to handle this, CSS isolation is creating it limited to that specific component, and doing that is very, very easy. So let me show you before we go to the isolation. To right click, you can just copy this, the name of this, right click here, and now go to add new item. Then make sure you choose for style, and now within the style, let's paste the name .razor, check it what .razor.css. Okay, so now what we're going to do here is, if you check the arrangement of this, you see it is under this component. It tells you that it's going to be affected by this. It's only this component. So if you have something like body, you see this body here. If I say this background and I set this to maybe red, etc., it tells you that here is going to affect only this component. Okay, let's also have a button here. Then with this button, we're going to say background of this button is going to be, let's say, green. Okay, so when we're done with this one, we go to our components here. Let's create a simple button here. Now let's see. So that's a way to implement CSS isolation. It is limited to this. There's a button, and here we're going to have our class. So we're not going to have any class here. Okay, we want to have something like this is button. Now this button, you're going to have the background as green because it's going to apply or affected by the CSS that we created, limited to this component. That is a way to handle CSS isolation. So this is simple for you, isn't it? We are done. What of the other guy? That is lazy loading. Lazy loading is going to be applied to the JavaScript, and this is what you're going to do. As soon as we click on the button, we then go in there and now load the JavaScript file. So instead of loading the JavaScript file on the page load, we don't want to do that. You want to reserve it, relax. When we need you, we click on the button and it gets loaded and starts implementing itself. Okay, so let's have a look on that. But before we do this, I want us to run this and now see if this is actually working. Okay, the CSS isolation, if it is working. So if it is working, it tells you that anywhere that you are going to use this component, the same feature that we are designing here is going to be applied to all projects that are going to apply this confirmation component. In order to handle this, let's create a Blazor so we can use it, because we cannot run this Razor class here. It's a library, so we can't run the library. So let's add new project, and now we're going to add web app. So web app, can just choose this and I'm going for Blazor. Then web app, let's say this is Blazor app. Next, we want to choose this interactive, going to be server. That's fine. Click on create to get it created. After that, you're going to consume this, the class library, into this, and I'll use the component that we have created. How do you do it? First of all, right click on dependencies, go to add project reference, and I'll add this class library. So add like this, click on OK. It has been added. Let's go to the component, go to the pages, and now inside this home page, we are going to use this component in here. Remember that the component that we created has only confirmation component here, right? We have nothing much in here. So in the home component, we're going to clear this one, and we're going to use, which one should we even use? That's going to be the confirmation. So do you have it here? Confirmation component. Now this should come from at using, and it is shared dot component. That is where this component is coming from. Yeah, so when you check the name here, it is confirmation component. We can just copy this and now do it well in here. So design your class, everything, and then put it here. You can apply your CSS, everything in here. Now when you are done, just copy the name of the component, the reference, and include it into the project that you want to reference it. And that is all, very simple one. Okay, so let's set this as a startup, the Blazor app. Then set this as startup in here, and now let's run this application and check it out. Oh, I told you. So you can see that this is working. Now you can see from here we have this button as green, isn't it? Have you seen the background of this button? This style was not done in this component, rather in the class library, and we use the CSS isolation. Okay, so even when you create a button in here, let's say when you add another button from here, just a button, and I'll say this is new button. Let's save this one. Now let's make this refresh and I'll check it out. I think we need to rerun this. So let's do it. So you can see that this button did not get affected by the style, although we are referencing this element. The element is a button. When you check the CSS, you can see when you check this here, you can see that you are referencing the element here. And now it tells you that any element which has the name as button must be formatted to this. But when you check the home page, we add the same button. But when you check the output, you can see that it didn't get affected. The reason is we are using CSS isolation. If we were using a CSS file which is referenced in the static files or reference in the index or the app.razor, then it's going to apply to all the buttons in this application. But using CSS isolation is going to limit it to the element in that specific component. I believe this is clear, isn't it? That's fine. Now let's see how to let's see how to work with the lazy loading on JavaScript as well. Let's go to the solution in here. And from the class library, we're going to create here, you can see we have this www root folder. I'm going to add a new folder, or maybe a new folder, a new item. And now there's going to be JavaScript. So with this JavaScript, we need to select, let's say JavaScript. I'm having only JavaScript. So let's see. So C# item, JavaScript. I'm still not getting what I want. Okay, so JavaScript, do you have JavaScript file? This TypeScript. Oh, I did not do it well. Alright, so it is the same thing. Let me just stop this first. Click, add new item, and JavaScript. So let's specify our own. So this is going to be, let's say this is dialog.js. Okay. Alright, so here we have dialog.razor. No, we don't want razor. So maybe I'm not finding it here. Let's do it here. So add a new item, and let's go in for Java. And this is what we want, JavaScript file. And now with this, I'm going to say dialog.js. Okay, so with this, I'm going to move this to the www folder here. Yes, this is what I want. All right, so we have the script file in here, and we can then delete from this one. Okay, so in here, we're going to have a simple method, and this is going to be used to display the dialog. Simple one, have you seen? This is a very simple one. Okay. Now inside that, we go to the component that we created, confirm component that we created, and now in that we are going to paste in some code to handle for this confirmation. Alright, so let's use this dialog element. Let me clear everything here. So we have this dialog element here, and in here we are going to use JavaScript runtime, that's the JS runtime, and also we are going to implement a disposable, so we have to implement the interfaces as well whilst using Microsoft.js interrupt. Okay, so we can have access to the JavaScript interoperability. So let's have it here. Alright, so we have inject IJS runtime, that's a runtime in here. We have this implementing from this interface, async disposable. Okay, so we're having maybe a message in here for now. We can just put that, maybe this is going to be a custom message. All right, so let's say this is a custom message. We are now actually focusing on this. All right, what we want to do here is we want to show how to perform lazy loading. Okay, so this class, this JavaScript file that we have created, we are not going to load this as soon as the app starts. We're going to load it when we click on the button. That is our main focus now. Okay, if you want to know how to use dialog box, well, I've made a video on this, how to use this element from .NET 8 Blazor. Maybe check this video description and I'll put it in there so you can just have a look. But for now, we are not doing that. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to handle here is we need to have our code section. Now in our code, we're going to create an instance cache in this model. And this model is going to be the IJS object reference. It means that we are creating a container so we can handle any input that we want to import. Okay, so aside from doing that, we have to create our constant. Then we can have our import path. So where is the path? Now in order to take this, listen to it well, come closer again. Yes. Now if you want to specify the path of a file, a static file in Razor library, you must start with the content, as you can see from here. So navigating to the home, then the content here, there's the root of the application, the content, then this is going to be the name of the class. Take note. Now what's the name of the class? That is shared. So I'm going to say shared. I hope it's clear. Now you can see from the shared, forget about this www root folder. It's going to automatically navigate to it, so don't worry. Do not provide www root folder. Okay, what you need to do here is, in case you have any folder inside this www root, that is where you need to provide it. But since you're not having any folder in there, we have only the file. That's why I have it straightforward as the file, as you can see here. So this is the importation path or the import path. Import path. Fantabulous. Okay, So now we have this. We need to create a method to load this, and now we're going to say load the model. So down here I'm going to write a simple method. This is going to return this I object reference, and it's a model. So we're going to return this. We're checking if this model here, it is null. And definitely when the page runs for the first time, you know it's going to be null because we did not assign any default value to it. So if it is null, then invoke this method, import it. What are you importing? We are importing this import path, and that is this one. So we are importing the razor, not the razor, I don't want to confuse you, please. The JavaScript file, okay? We are importing it in here, and now we store it here. So for the first time the app, you click on the button, it's going to load it and now cache it in here. The second time you click on the button, no, you're not going to load it again because it has already been loaded and you have it cached in here. It's very simple. You see? Good. So once you're done with this, what's the next thing that we can do? It's very simple as well. So let's say virtually we have this method at hand. What can we do? We can just create a simple method that show message. And now within this show message, what can we do in here? You know, where from this show message, it's going to be a button that we're going to click on. When you click on this button, we are going to call this or raise this method. So when you click on this button, that is when we want to load this JavaScript. Okay, so we are doing this lazy loading. So this is where the lazy loading comes in. Okay, so this is where it comes in. Now, how do you perform this lazy loading? We are going to create an instance of this method. That is this. You know, we create model is equal to model, because here this model is going to return I object reference, and then this I object reference is going to return this import file. So this is the file itself. Okay, so we're going to return this file being cached in here, and now what we're going to do here is we're going to call a method that we created using the JavaScript method here. So do you know this show dialog, this dialog.js? We have this method in here, so we're going to call it, and now it's going to render it for us. Very simple one, that what we're doing in here. Very simple. Okay, now you know, since we are using this one for now, we don't want to include this confirm, okay, because we don't want to do this now. Okay, we want to just display this dialog, going to load this content as soon as the page loads. Not the page loads when the button is clicked. That's why we want to perform this as lazy loading. Now you know the reason why we are having this, we have not implemented this interface from this interface, a method from this interface, and that's a disposable. Okay, so the reason why is when the page requests this, when I check the page lifecycle, the last end here is it should dispose. When it is disposing, you know, we attach or we calling this, so we want to associate it. So in order to dispose it, we have to use this value tags, dispose async from the interface, and now dispose it as well. Okay, so we are saying await model.dispose async. So we don't want to cache it and now be holding there for a certain time of time. As far as the page is disposing, we want to also dispose it if and only that model is not null. Meaning if the first time the model is null, then they're going to dispose. But in case it has content, it has this file, then please do discard it. We don't want to hold it and now waste our memory, so discard it. Okay, that's what we have. So it's going to call this method, and now this method here, it is saying that search through all the component or all the application, find any div which has the element as ID, and now show this model. Very simple one. This is what we are doing. Take note. Now let's go to this. We are done with that razor class library components. Let's go in there and consume it into the home page here. So we have it set, isn't it? We have it set in here. So what we're going to do here is we need to create a reference of this so we can start using this. So let's say this is a reference, and now we say this is confirmation component. So we can do this using this reference attribute. So confirmation component, and I will copy this one. When we come to this side code section, we can implement this. Let's make this as nullable, and here. Okay, so this is what we are doing. We want to actually have a button, and this button, let's say this is a new button. Now this new button, we want to say show dialog. So show dialog. Now this show dialog, we want to have class, and this class is going to be btn primary, and when it is unclicked, we want to say show dialog. Now with this show dialog method that we have created, we need to write up an event to it. So here we're going to say void, it's going to return nothing, and in here we're going to say that confirmation dialog component dot, there's a method known as show message. I know this must be nullable, so let's have it checked in here. Okay, so let's see. Oh, this is not working. We need to make it in this format. Is that so? Yes, it's working. Okay, now let's save this. We're going to build this application, then we're going to run it and see. As soon as I click on this button, the file or the JavaScript file must load to the frame of this the browser. Now let's build a solution and now check it out. Yeah, we could bear with me that builds are seeded. Have you also done yours? Were you able to complete the building? Okay, then let's run it together. So click on yours, let me click on mine, and now let's see what's going to happen here. Oh, you can see that the page is now loaded. Have you seen it? Okay, so this right click on this, let's go to inspect elements. So what is the name of the file that we created? That is a dialog.js, isn't it? So let's see. Go to the frames, and now from the script, open it. You can see we have only ASP.NETCode.browser.refresh.js, Blazor.web.js, and now browser link, isn't it? Now let's see. If I click on this, what's going to happen? Click on this, and let's see. Okay, so nothing happens. Do you know the reason why? Yes, I know. Do you know? Because here we have not implemented, this page is not interactive, it is statically rendered. Okay, so we need to make that interactive. So at render mode, interactive server, now let's put a breakpoint here and now check it out. So let's run this again. Okay, so this is also back, and I'm going to check it again. Let's see. So we see the file here from the script side, it is not there, right? Now let's click on show. Now this method get hit, click on continue, and now let's see what's going to happen. So you can see we have this custom message, and you can see the CSS isolation, the button is green. As you can see here, we have a custom one, a class that we use. Here we're using this green as CSS isolation. It is affecting to this component only. Now check it out. You can see that the file has been added in here, dialog.js, and that is the JS that we created. Have you seen? Okay, so we have this. Now I'm going to do it once again. I'm going to clear the history so we can get everything cleared off and try to run this again. So clear everything. Oh, fine. So that is it. Have you also cleared yours? Now let's find it again the last time, and I'll see if this is still going to work. The app is loaded. Now right click on this, inspect, and let's go to the frame app. Go to the frame, and I can see we don't have any script here, right? Now let's see. So here I'm going to remove this breakpoint. So now with this breakpoint that I have removed, I'm going back again, and watch out for this Blazor, not the dialog.js. If I click on this, you can see that it has loaded lazily. Yeah, it has loaded lazily. Okay, and we have this also affected. Okay, so that is it. Now this model that we have created, in the next video that I'm going to do, I'm going to put it in the class library as we've done, and now we are going to expose some method. Maybe do you want to confirm this? We want to also accept a message, and I'll display it on top here. And after that, we're going to package this up, this class, we're going to build it as NuGet package. We're going to upload it to the nuget.org. Then we're going to create another project and I install this package as a NuGet package. Okay, so anytime that you have your result class library, you can package it, install it, or upload it to the nuget.org, and now anywhere that you find yourself or anybody can just go in there and now grab your package and I'll use it. I'll show you in the next video. Trust me, you're going to love that so much. Yes, and I also love it to teach you as well. For now, we're going to end here. Thank you so much for watching this video. Stay tuned and now watch or wait for the next video.